Daith da, Obi Nakan. Welcome to podcast number 178. Well, I've had a hang of a week, I tell you. What went wrong was Beth went up to England last Friday with her mother and her sister Laura. They went up to stay for a few days with Beth's godmother, Sheila, and their two maids also live up there, up near Chichester it is. And so I was home alone for the weekend. So I'll talk about my weekend in a minute, but they was going up on the Friday, coming back on the Monday. So I thought, right, I'll crack on, do a bit of work. But unfortunately, mother-in-law took poorly. I think it was Sunday, rushed to A&E, and she ended up having a major operation. So that meant that they had to stay up there. So Beth didn't actually come back until Thursday late afternoon. So I've been fending for myself all weekend, all week, just me, and Mabon been here a little bit as well. So just the two of us. We cope pretty well. I'm not the most domesticated, put it that way, but we cope pretty well. I did run a bit short on groceries. I did have to do a shop middle of the week. I went up the supermarket. Well, it was late in the evening because I just run out of time. All my jobs I had to do. And everything was going well there. I had my trolley until I just got to the checkout and I remembered I didn't have any bags. So I had to dig deep and buy a bag off them. But, it went all right. It was I didn't have enough hours in the day. I don't anyway. But being a full-time worker and a house husband, I tell you, it takes some doing. But anyway, they got home yesterday. You'll be pleased to know mother-in-law is making a recovery and all is well, heading in the right direction. So my plan for last weekend was pretty much to work all weekend. We had a funeral in the morning, Saturday morning, and that was a terribly sad funeral. Dear Jane, very sudden. Jane was the main steward there at St. Tudie Methodist Church. So she was a great help, when we turn up early to get everything ready. The kettle was always on there, very helpful. And we had a fantastic crowd for her up there, really did. St. Tudie Chapel, I remember my father used to say, when these Methodists designed their chapels, he said, I don't think they ever thought that any of their congregation would ever pass away. Because a lot of them, it is very difficult to get a coffin in and out. And there might be more about that, about a new chapel actually locally in a few months' time, but that's beside the point. But with St. Tudie, to make us, give us a little bit more room, what the stewards have to do, the first thing they have to do when they get there is unlock the front door and then take off the door handle on the inside so the door will go back about extra 3 inches, which just gives us enough room to get the coffin in and up the aisle. Now, we're traditional. We don't like to use the trolley unless we got to. We like to carry perhaps the Cornish way or shoulder carrying, if people want to do that. But there are a few places, and a lot of them actually are Methodist chapels where we have to use the trolley. And this was one of them. But we had a lovely turnout for Jane. Had a bit of rain there, but she had a lovely service. And then we went on to the crematorium. So then the rest of the weekend was pretty much paperwork, apart from I had Lenny for a couple hours Sunday afternoon, just me and E. What could have gone wrong? Nothing. Didn't even have to change his nappy. So, apart from that, working flat out and then on to Monday. Now, before I get on to Monday, one thing I meant to say at the start was, to thank everybody who listens. It is absolutely brilliant. But I've had a few messages of what people are doing while they're listening. For example, Linda, dear Linda, I'd say Padster maid. She lives at Nance at the minute, but she is Padster really. And Linda put on my Facebook page that listening to me podcast makes doing the ironing a lot easier and a lot quicker, it seems. So that was good from her. And then I know Denise up Bude. She always listens to this while she's doing the housework. I take it not when the Hoover's on because she wouldn't be able to hear me, but while she's doing the housework. And then I am actually in bed with quite a few of you. on a Saturday morning. Like Deb down Poseth, she's quite often in bed listening to me. And I think Denise out St. Column is too, just to name a couple. And they're quite willingly, they're in bed with me, listening, if you know what I mean. One who ain't quite so keen, I think, is my dear mate Jane, married to Alan. And dear old Al, he must be one of my biggest fans of the podcast. He's absolutely brilliant. And Jane have said to me on more than one occasion, she said, I'm there lying in bed, snoozing, and the next thing I hear a voice next to me, Death da, I'll be knacking. And yep, Al's listening to me in bed, 8 o'clock, Saturday morning. So, sorry about that, Jane. But it's, quite interesting, really, how some of you do listen to the podcast. Anyway, back to this week. Monday, we started early. We were in the crematorium at 8:30 for another direct funeral. In fact, we had loads of those this week. I think Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. 4 mornings, 8:30, Glen Valley. And then, actually, was one down Penmount. No, they were all Glen Valley this week. It must have been the week before, and I think next week we in Penmount. Well, then, after that, we was down Padstow. And I always remember, I don't know if any of you do out there, the Mrs. Merton TV show. And she was a beauty, really. And I remember once she started this interview and she said, she was talking about pop stars. And she said, you can always tell when somebody have made it big in the world because they're known by just one name, like Elvis, Madonna, Prince. And then she said, I'm now going to introduce Sophie Ellis-Bextor, which I thought was brilliant. And then obviously because she had the 3 names. Well, anyway, I thought it was funny. Well, I think you can say that the funeral we had Monday morning at Padstow, that just summed it right up. Because the funeral, he was just known as Pep. Johnny Pepler, but just known as Pep. And, God, what a funeral it was. Absolutely heaving. Like I've said, Padstow Church is a big church. We actually left, I mean, he used to live down Auker's Cove, which is one of the most idyllic places you could ever live. It's there where the old Padstow lifeboat station is. Just a tiny little cove. You've got your own little private beach. Your Coast Guard, or would it be cottages there, whatever. Oh, absolutely so idyllic. Looking across to St. Enna Dock. At the mouth of the estuary. Well, then, latterly, he just lived for a couple of years in Trevone, but Padstow through and through, a real, genuine Padstonian. And we did his final journey in the earth from Trevone. We went down past the beach and obviously into Padstow. Trevone's only a mile or so away from Padstow. And one of Pep's, I think it was grandchildren, took a fantastic photo of the hearse just as when they're on the beach. And I said to Di, I said, here, do we mind if I put it on our Facebook page? And she said, do whatever you want. So we did put a photo of the hearse there on our RJ Bray Facebook page, which was absolutely brilliant. And I say, we turned up at Padstow. And what an entrance Pep made into church. I say the church was full. Now, Pep was in the Padstow Merrymakers. Now, the Merrymakers, they are a group of Padstonians down there, musicians who play the accordions, the drums, and they play all the old-time music, which is brilliant. And I'll tell you what, they've raised thousands for charities over the years. I mean, a lot of them, being Padstonians, they got the accordions and the drums when they do May Day every year. And Pep was a merrymaker with his tambourine. And so they led us into church. And, oh, it give you goosepimples on the back of your neck. It really do. And we had a fantastic service. And Toby was there. I think Toby was his godson, who's one of the fisherman's friends. So he led us in Cornwall, My Home, because Toby actually sings the main vocal of the fisherman's friends version of that. And then again, the Merrymakers led us out after. And we had his tambourine and his hat on the coffin. And of course, he loved May Day. A true Padstonian absolutely loved his May Day. So I'm sure you would have loved it. It was a fantastic day. It really was. And for Padstow to say goodbye to one of its own. Well, then after that, we were England Valley in the afternoon. It was a bit dicey, really. To Sir Julia's funeral, and we had a brilliant crowd again. But she lived at St. Breward, and of course, they said we'd like to go one last time over Delphi Bridge, stop on the bridge for a minute as we go over the moors to get to the crematorium. And we've had so much rain up until a day or two before. I don't know if we would have done it because our hearses are so long and low, and the water covering the roads was hellish. It really was. But it was brilliant. Everything went fine. The water level had gone down, and we successfully made it to the crematorium. And then some of the other funerals we've had during the week have included Sylves at St. Minver. And again, I put a photo of St. Minver Church, the inside, which I did with Peps actually as well. On Monday, I did put a photo of Padstow Church on the RJ Bray Facebook page. And I did St. Minver Church as well for Sylve's funeral. Both of them, churches looking stunning. I also put another photo on. They got the stocks there inside the main gate of St. Minver Church, real old stocks, where you used to have put your feet in or your head in your arms, and they chuck rotten tomatoes at it. And I really don't know why they've still got there at church. It's either to threaten unruly people in the congregation or make sure the vicar behaves himself. I'm not too sure. But like for Sylve's funeral, really busy again, loads of people, absolutely fantastic. And then Sally's funeral in the afternoon, which again was lovely, a wonderful crowd there, and a lovely story from that one. Now, Sally used to drive these horse and carriages. I think she used to do competitions. So you got like a couple of horses with the carriage sort of thing. And they said she was doing one event and she was going along and there was a chap stood in the way, and she shouted at him twice to get out the way. But the second time he turned around, and it was the Duke of Edinburgh. So I don't know what her reaction was or what his reaction was, but it was the Duke of Edinburgh stood there in the way. And we've also had Jason's funeral. What a fantastic chap he was. He had a tough life, but he never complained. Such a lovely chap. And it just showed with so many people that was there at the crematorium to wish him farewell. And then back in the afternoon for Alan's funeral at our chapel, which was pretty much full. And it was lovely. We had a bit of accordion music again. We got the accordions on again, like we were talking about with Pet down at Padstow. Well, Alan was a very good accordion player, and we had a lovely service there with a bit of music halfway through, music for reflection, a bit of accordion music. And anybody who used to live here in Wadebridge, you would have seen Alan. He would do a bit of busking, perhaps up the main street on his accordion, raising money. He was in the Lions, and he raised thousands for the Lions. And then to entertain the residents like up St. Brioch Home, he'd go up there playing his accordion as well. So he's somebody that will be definitely missed around town. Amongst funerals that we had yesterday, sorry, Madge and Steve, I'm going to say it again, but it was Joe's funeral. And Joe, I've known all my life, dear of him. We've been very close, really, to the Skinner family. And Joe, a strong Methodist. Well, of course, at the minute, we haven't really got a Methodist chapel in town. He was initially thinking of having the service at our place, but of course, Joe was a video organist, and we haven't got a proper organ at our place. We got a nice little electronic one. But he said, I'd rather have a video organ. So we went to Eglisell Church. And I tell you what, I'm glad that Joe had made that decision, in the past, because it would have been too big for our place. It was a fantastic crowd. It really was. So well known and well loved. And of course, I've known him, say, for such a long time, and we've worked together in latter years because we're both trustees for the ambulance hall. And I know he'll be missed by the ambulance hall committee, amongst others. But I put a photo on our page of his flowers because it was lovely, really. It was just with a few of his interests because he loved his boats and that. So we had a bit of nautical rope there, runner beans and rhubarb in his floral tribute. But yeah, somebody again who will be a true bridger. Like I say, another true bridger gone who will be sadly missed. And then in the afternoon, we was up St. Breward, and that was for Florence's funeral. A true lady of the moors, such a hard-working farming lady. And again, church was full. It is lovely how, attendances at funerals seem really going up. I know I said it the other day. And 'twas a little bit St. Brewardy weather. I mean, I always feel 'tis almost you need an extra layer of clothing when you go up St. Breward. But there were some lovely tales told there of Florence, a real character of the area. And again, it's kind of end of an era, really. But yeah, it was a lovely service for her. And then today, amongst our funerals today, we was up St. Materiana's Church at Tintagel for Liz's funeral. Liz from a local Tintagel family there. We was lucky. We was really lucky because there was some heavy showers around. Now, when we left Wade Bridge, the sun was shining. It was brilliant. So I thought, right, we're on here. And crikey, I didn't take my raincoat. And then I'm thinking, God, I wish I had. But we were okay. We dodged the showers. And when we came out of church, there was a fantastic rainbow as we were heading towards the grave. So I did, this afternoon, I did put a few photos on there of the inside of the church at Tintagel and also the rainbow, which didn't, by the time we took a photo, we'd missed the best bit of it, really. So it didn't do it justice, but it was a fantastic, fantastic rainbow and a lovely send-off to a lovely lady. So that's pretty much me week. I did mention Steve and Madge just now, and Madge was in church with us yesterday, and I know that I said my Cornish dialect was fabulous to say, call the ferries in when there's a lot of cars come along. And Madge said that Steve used to say that as well. Now, Steve is a Padster boy, and if there was an influx of people, he would say, call the ferries in, which was that referring to the Rock to Padster ferry, because that is such a busy way of getting from, across the estuary. So Steve used to say it, and Madge said, I wonder if that, for them, was the actual ferry, coming across from Rock, rather than the Tor Point ferry coming from England into Cornwall. So I think that's all I'm going to talk about today. I was going to talk about the trains, which I might do that in the next week or two, because I've gone on quite a bit already. But one thing I did look at this week, which I've never done before, was our Facebook page, how many people look at it every month, because, people don't have the newspapers so much these days. A lot of death announcements don't go in the newspapers anymore. Most of them, I'd say a good 80% go on our Facebook page. And I just looked onto the insights, and I couldn't believe that last month, 1.6 million people looked at our Facebook page, which is crazy, isn't it? For a little firm down here in the countryside, down in Cornwall, 1.6 million. Wow. Right. Well, now we're going over for the last bit of my interview with Lorraine. And you'll love this. The feedback have been brilliant, as it always is. People love all the interviews, and they've loved Lorraine's as well. She did get in touch. She said, here, there's a few things I forgot about. So I said, well, that's all right. We'll leave it a little while, then we'll put another episode on. So this will be the last episode for a little while, but I know you'll love it. And then I'll come back to it directly with all me little Cornish bits. So here it is.
What is the car park to the pub? That was my dad's garden.
Oh, was that right?
So he had chickens up in the corner, and he was a really good gardener. He put in I think he won a prize for the longest parsnip at St. Q show. And one year we had Moran chickens, and they they laid the most brownest eggs you can get. And he entered 6 of these eggs, and somebody accused him of painting them.
Oh, no, really?
Yes, honestly. So I used to have a little frame of my own, and I used to grow lettuce, and I'd sell them to Hawke, who was a greengrocer down
Treadwell. That's right, yeah.
for pocket money.
Yeah.
So I was always, Mum and Dad were keen gardeners, and I was always keen.
So were the birds always amble then, or no?
My gran was a poking horn.
Oh, yeah.
My grandfather, he was, he had a ship that carried tea.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And unfortunately, he was drowned, Rosario, Argentina.
Oh.
All my gran had was a card that came home saying, condolences in memory of Lewis Hitchings Burt, 44 years, interred. So there is a grave somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd love to find that grave, Dave.
Exactly.
Interred, Rosario. And rumour has it he fell overboard and drowned. What the circumstances were, I don't know.
No.
But his ship carried tea. No, he was a ship's carpenter. Yeah. My great-grandfather, he was a captain of a ship called, I think his ship was called, was it Ariel or Trevilly? Trevilly. Was it? And he carried tea, my great-grandfather.
Right, yeah.
I can't believe they were like sailors, because my father, he wouldn't go near the sea. But they were, yeah. But I never knew them, you see, because they died before I was I was born.
Yeah.
But of course, Andrew Hawke at Pimpont, I used to go over there and play as a child. And he's made such a good business over there now.
It is lovely.
So him and Elaine, his sister, they've got several cottages and barn conversions and down in Amble.
Yeah. So they've been there a long time, the Hawkes, haven't they?
All my life.
Yeah.
Yeah, all my life. I used to fish off the bridge catching eels.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah. Yeah, off the bridge. But it always flooded, as we said, until I think they put a bird reservation there, didn't they? Down on Amble Marshes.
Yes, yeah.
I think it was like a preserved bird. And I think they dammed it. But I got a feeling they undammed it.
Oh, I don't know.
So whether the tide comes up now, I'm not sure.
No.
But my mother and father, before obviously I was born, they lived in a cottage right down near the marsh. And one morning they came down and their furniture was floating.
Oh, no.
Yeah, tide had come up and their furniture was floating.
I remember John Moon saying they lived at Slate's Bridge and his mother and father would watch the tides. And sometimes he'd come home from school and they'd say, right, all the furniture got to go upstairs. And the water would go in one door and out
the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, we could run free. We used to build camps and play rounders, play cricket. And I used to play with a Jennifer Cooper, make a, little home of our own. And I'd go up to the shop and I'll say to Gwen and Erica, have you got any old custard powder we can have or anything like that? Just make home, like a playhouse.
Exactly.
See, children now, they miss out, don't they? Because they're on all their modern equipment. But yeah, it was really happy. We didn't have very much, but it was really happy done. Oh, and Mum and Gran, they used to pick chickens, geese, turkeys for Christmas to make extra money.
I see.
So I think it was the Hoblins and Clifford Pokenhorn used to bring these chickens, geese and turkeys out. Mum had to kill them. We used to pick them all, feathers everywhere. And then Mum would draw them and have them all up on the table looking beautiful for Christmas. What you do just to make a bob.
Exactly. Was there electricity out here then when you was young or no? What?
I can't remember not having electric at Amble, but I used to go and stay with my aunt and uncle, that's Noreen and Terence Burt, out at Paul Glaze Farm at St Mabon.
Yeah.
And they had just these gas tilly lamps.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and you pump them.
Yeah.
And a mantle.
Yeah.
And that's what they had for lighting.
Yeah.
I don't know what year we had electric, actually. But going back to Triton, as I say, we had a flat there when we got married. We got permission to take a window out, put a door in. So there's always 2 staircases in that house. And I've got who owned it from 1317. And the people at Pancaro owned it at one time.
All right.
Different people. We had a flat there. And David's mum took in visitors, so obviously I helped with, doing the visitors.
At Triton, was there a shop or anything in High Way?
Yes, Joe Brown had the shop.
Okay.
And a Mr. and Mrs. Fugler had the filling station.
All right.
And they won many prizes from Esso, like going on a cruise and what have you. Because of the filling station. Yeah. But I must tell you this, David. I used to take plants into Weybridge WI Market. But I also was delivering to your dad's funeral parlour this particular morning.
Right.
So I was loaded up in the estate car with my plants and the funeral flowers.
Yeah.
I thought, I'll go and offload my plants at the town hall. So boot up, takes in my plants. I come out and my funeral flowers have gone.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I thought, where the hang have they gone? Then I see your father laughing his head off. He'd taken the flowers out of my car. I thought, where the hell am I going to go and get some yellow roses?
Exactly.
This time of the day.
Yeah.
But he had taken them.
God, beggar, wasn't it?
Oh, we laughed. Yeah, we laughed.
Good fun, wasn't it?
Every time I saw him, I think he mentioned that.
Oh, those were the days, weren't they?
Cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, somebody had their own back on him once. I think it was Ken Werry, because father, we used to keep theirs up Glen Road in the garage. So if we had a funeral, we'd drive, park ours outside what was NSS, I don't know what, the news agents. And if it was cold, he'd leave the engine running, because you would back then, wouldn't
you? Would.
And you come out and theirs are gone. And of course, Ken Werry had gone and put it round the corner.
Yeah. Well, I thought, how can I get back on him? And I thought, I'll do it one day, but I never did.
No.
But I thought I would get back at him. Like you say, I wouldn't drive the hearse, but, I said to David just now, before you came, I hope he don't comes in the hearse tonight.
Well, I think that's brilliant. If you think you've covered everything.
Yeah, you know what it's like, David. You can go on, but I can't think of, can't really think of anything.
No, that's brilliant.
Oh, just one little thing. As I say, Gran used to take in a lot of visitors. And we had a Mr. and Mrs. Grant staying. And very often they would take, if they had children, they would also take me to the beach.
Oh, yeah.
Always mainly Polzeath.
Yeah.
Anyway, Mr. Grant, he was a judge, actually, but he had a wooden leg.
Right.
So we gets to Polzeath, and me and his daughter had to walk out to the water's edge with him. He took off his prosthetic leg, so he went swimming, and we walked back the beach carrying this leg.
Oh, no. And then you'd obviously have to look out for him to do the reverse.
Yes. We did a lot of surfing back in those days.
Oh, yeah.
David's uncle, he made him a personalised surfboard with your initial on, didn't he? You and Mervyn. Because David's brother was called Mervyn.
Yeah.
And you had your own surfboard with your initial on. And we would go down Polzeath, a gang of us, and take over a cove and stay there until the tide came in. But I'm sorry to say we don't go to the beach. No, you do, don't you?
I try to. Yeah, I haven't been for a few months now, but I tried.
Such a shame when we live so close. Yeah. No, we haven't for years, which is a shame.
Plywood.
Yeah, I say, yeah. And no no wetsuits back then either, was there?
Yeah.
Of course, my oldest sister, Marjorie, she was married to John Blewett, who farmed at Ready Vallon at Boscastle and had all the prize Charolais.
Oh, yeah.
But his son, Mark, decided to emigrate to Australia. So they sold up and they went with him.
Oh, right. I didn't.
They couldn't take their animals with them, but they were allowed to take the seamen.
Yeah.
So John, my brother-in-law, he had won championship in Perth, Scotland,
Right.
and championship in Australia with his Charolais.
Yeah. Good, great. Are they still living there?
No, David and I were fortunate enough to go out visiting them about 23 years ago, and they gave us such a super, super holiday. Really, really lovely. And I'm so glad we did it because, well, John passed away, and then my sister had Alzheimer's and she passed away. But I've got a nephew who's still farming and his sons, and I've got a niece and her family who live in Perth, and they're doing exceptionally well.
Yeah.
It's a land of opportunity.
Is it? Yeah.
If you're young.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. And then your other nephew and niece, obviously, I went to school with Adrian.
Oh,
Yeah.
dear Adrian.
Yeah.
I used to have him come up to Treetorn
Yeah.
and play, you know,
Yeah.
look after him for the day, and Lindsay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault, but I got a scar on my forehead through it. And I mentioned when I see him, like, we was playing Bulldog up the boys' school, and you weren't allowed to play Bulldog, really. So in the dinner time, we played Bulldog, and you're running towards the wall, and accidentally it caught my foot, and I head-butted the wall.
Oh, no.
So I had to go down doctors, I had blood everywhere, stitches and everything. So I still bring it up to an in and out. So
Well, at one time, Dudley built a house at White Rock.
that's right.
And Adrian was a toddler, and the Frys were nearby.
Oh,
Mr. John Fry.
Yeah.
And he used to say, "Fry, you bugger." And I think Adrian, it was in his little car, he pedalled all the way down Blinkenwell Molesworth Street.
Did he?
They had to go looking. Then another time, I think he got hold of a pot of paint, was painting Mr. Camps's garage door.
Oh, no. Because they was in the corner, I think, wasn't it?
Right in the corner
that's
there,
right,
yeah.
We used to go there for birthday parties and that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. No, good times. Right, well, we better wind it up now, I think, really, because I got a lovely bit of info there. That's brilliant. So if you want to say goodbye to everybody.
It's been a pleasure, David.
It's been good fun, hasn't it?
Goodbye, everyone.
Proper job. Thank you. Well, thank you, Lorraine. Proper job. That was brilliant. And like I say, we'll get back to Lorraine again in the future with another instalment. Now, for my Cornish word of the week, I said to John Keese, now John did the eulogy there up at St. Breward. He did a fantastic job. I said to him afterwards, I always love listening to your eulogies because they're so well put together. And of course, he was a family member for Florence. And I said to him, I will mention the name of the farm where she used to live. I haven't got a clue what it means, so I tried to look into it. It's very difficult, but it's Balatharek. Balatharek. Now, isn't that a proper good Cornish-sounding name? But I thought I would do the Cornish word for moor, because obviously we up on Bodmin Moor, very close to us here in Wade Bridge. Beautiful place, Bodmin Moor. And the Cornish word for moor is how, H-A-L, how. Now, also, while we was in the graveyard afterwards, we was talking to different people, and there's a bit of dialect that people would say, they kind of, well, you would almost say it's bad English, but it's what was said in the different areas. And it was said a lot in Cornwall years ago. And if they say, that's where she is, they'd say, that's where her's too. That's where her's too. So instead of she, and is instead of to. Have I got that the right way around? I don't know. Well, you know what I mean. That's where her's too. That's where she is. And I love hearing that. Absolutely love it. So I thought that's what I would do for this week. Right, well, that's it now. That's a busy week over. Thankfully, Beth is back, and my house husband, is that the right word, term? House husband time is over for a little while anyway. and 'tis just back to me normal manic way of life. So I do wish you well. I hope you have a good week, and I'll speak to you next week. Do get us. Curnovis Ficken.